Thokozani. I see two people. Thokozani. Hey, Duchess, Ndlovukazi, Ninjani. Hi, guys. Oh, Nikon. Everybody's here. That's great. Guys, please say hi as you come on so we can bump this up in the algorithm. Thokozani, Sanbonani, Thokozani. I see Duchess, Masibulele, Ninjani. Mansmate, Ninjani, Brenda, Msimango. Hi, Brenda. Oh, yeah, I see all the usual suspects here. Ninja. How have you guys been? It's been a moment. And Ndlovukazi, Ninjani. I can't wait to see you, Duchess. Thokozabusi, Thokozani. I see you guys. Veronica, hello. Ninjani. Docha, hello. Docha, look, yours is on the way. Yours is getting mailed off on Monday. So, yes. Leticia, Nonhlanhla, Ninjani. How's everybody doing today? Fezegile, how are you? I'm going to try to greet everybody today. Nkululeko, Ninjani. Nomangwane, Ninjani. Yes, the names I can say, I'll try to say properly. Those I can't, you guys will have to just bear with me. Mercy Marufu, Magadini, Nyuaskana, Vuyogazi, Ninjani. Nandis, Ninjani. Thokozani. Nice to see you guys. Nunu, Unjani, Masibulele. Yes, I've greeted you. Umpo, Nyamaz. Mpo is always here. Thokoza Mpo, Tenjiwe, Unjani. Thank you for the candle. Ramadimeja. Am I even saying that correct? Thokoza, let's say, Dileha Diniwe, Mpume, Butswebe. Makosi, Nyankwabe, ukhona ugogo, Nancy, Lindiwe. Hello, Lindiwe, I hope you're well. Look forward to seeing you. Thokoza, it's Emone, I don't know, Thokoza Kokompala, sending you so much love and a big hug. Who else is here who I haven't? Agnes, Unjani, Lelam. Aike nyanibona nikhona. Thokozani guys. So I think let's start because we have a lot to get through today, ne? It's cold here, guys. It's really, really cold. I'm sitting here like this. It's leg. And I know that for you guys in the southern hemisphere, it must be just like, what? It's cold. Yeah, it's freezing. There's a bit of snow on the ground. So yeah. That's our life here. But ke Thokozani, Lesedi, Lehanya, Kamagwini, Tobela, Ndauwe, Shewe, Golava Madlozi Amakhulu, Makhosi, Sithi Kwaziwayi, Jambo, Makadini Enyu, Kedu, Kilode. Yeah. So I think I've greeted everyone. Hi guys. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for coming on. It's been a while, I know, but yeah, there's a lot going on, guys. There's a lot going on. I'm trying to get myself ready to go to South Africa. So just been a lot of other things I needed to take care of. But we're closing out the season of Het-Heru, right? So in a few days, let me see on this calendar. So So basically, I think Monday is the last day. Monday. And then we are going into the season of Jehuti. So, okay. So I thought it might be a good idea for us to talk a little bit about accountability and responsibility, right? So all along, we were talking about, relationships. And of course, during this entire season, we started out elsewhere, but we ended up kind of really focusing on the big issue, which is the divine masculine, divine feminine, and all the stuff that goes on there. And the fact that as Bagwantu, as Black people, if we don't get our relationships right, we cannot create healthy families. And you cannot build a nation, you cannot build a community with broken families, right? We are all in agreement about that. And we talked about some of the traumas and some of the reasons why we find ourselves in this space, right? The primary reasons, or at least the reasons or the things that originated our problem, are outside of ourselves. We agreed on that, right? Colonialism, what slavery, yeah, right? External factors have contributed to us finding ourselves where we are. But, always a but. That having been said, at what point do we become responsible? Right? Because there's now, especially in the age we're living in, there is a level of complicity to what is going on, right? So there has to come a point at which we can no longer continue to blame externals. The externals are definitely responsible for us having found ourselves in this place to begin with. And we are therefore responsible if we perpetuate this, right? This is where accountability comes in for all of us, men and women. We cannot continue to, because otherwise we solve nothing. If we just sit and say, you see what the colonizer did, you see what enslavers did, and this is why we're broken, so stay broken then. But if the intent, if the desire, right, if the energy, emotion, the deep, deep desire for all of us collectively is to become whole and healthy, then at some point we have to start holding ourselves accountable. We have to start saying, okay, so this happened and this happened, but now we are here. Moving forward, what part do we play or not play in repairing or damaging further, right? I mean, this is a serious issue for Tina Bagwantu because quite frankly, we already have a lot that's going on. But the bottom line and ground zero is that if the relationships between Black men and Black women aren't sorted out, we won't go anywhere. We will get nothing achieved. We will get nothing done. And we will continue to breed and bring into this world broken people because we ourselves are broken and we are not fixing it. Is it an overnight thing? No. Is it an individual thing? On some level it is. Because remember, communities, countries are made up of individuals, first and foremost. So at some point, all of us have to take personal accountability for how we are and how we move and be in relationships. Having agreed that all of us are starting from point broken, right? So in this, there's no expert. We're all starting from point broken, right? And we're all going to do the best we can with what we know. So there's no one judging anyone here. I'm not even sitting here to preach or to teach. How? Because I'm in the brokenness. We are all starting at ground zero. We're broken. Therefore, what tools can we use individually and collectively to move us forward? That's the question at hand. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the principle of MAAT because, again, just looking back, we keep hearing that there was a time where Africa was harmonious, people lived in peace. There was no crime at the rate it's at now, and so on and so on. And the question then became, okay, pre-colonial, how was this achieved? How were people able to live in this harmony? We've spoken about the fact that there are these governing principles, right, that we find on the calendar. And if you don't have a calendar, best get yourself a calendar because there's going to be lots of calendar talk. And if you don't get a calendar, then you don't know what we're talking about, okay? So there are these principles that we've talked about. Some of you have already experienced some of that because we've really been kind of talking about each principle. And right now we are in the season of Het-Heru, who is, of course, the energy or goddess, if you like, of love, fertility, relationships, and so on, which is why we're discussing relationships. But then there is MAAT. And MAAT is the principle or energy that holds everything together. What do I mean by that? MAAT is the energy or principles that brings the concepts of truth, of morality, of justice, right? MAAT has 42 laws, as they are called, the laws of MAAT. You guys saw that there. There are 42 of them. Here's what I would urge you to do, every single one of you. I would really urge you to print this. I would urge you to put it somewhere where you can recite these laws every single day. Recite them in the morning, recite them in the evening. Because they will remind you. See, they're in you, these laws. This is what I want to say. This is where I'm going with this. These laws are not external of you, as above, so below. Because these laws are the laws that govern the cosmos and the universe. The moon, the stars, the planets, everything is in its rightful place because of MAAT. MAAT holds that balance. Therefore, as above, so below, within you, MAAT lives and exists. These internal laws live and exist. And what you need to do is when you're reciting these, you're not just reciting them to memorize, you're reciting them. Remember, gestures are very important. You're reciting them to activate that DNA memory, to activate these laws. They're there in you. These are the laws that little children have when they come into this world, and they're just creatures functioning on these laws until we start messing with them and you know, we start brainwashing and programming. So the harmony that existed pre-colonial days was really a harmony that was founded in this fact that people lived MAAT. People lived in this balance. What do I mean? This is how these laws are written, just so to show you how absolutely stunning and beautiful African spirituality is versus religion. Listen to this. Number 1 says, I honor virtue. I benefit gratitude. I am peaceful. I respect the property of others. I affirm that all life is sacred. I statements. I. This is why I said this is worth reciting, because these are affirmations. What are affirmations? Those who know, right? There are some of you who do daily affirmations, right? I am beautiful. I am goddess. I am this. These laws are written in this particular way because you embody that. At your highest self, at your best self, at your most godly self, you embody this. Now, isn't that beautiful? Juxtapose that with religion, which says, mind you, the 10 Commandments, maybe you guys know this already, but you know the 10 Commandments are plagiarized from MAAT's laws. Yeah, they have nothing new. They couldn't have ever had anything new. They just stole everything. So plagiarized from MAAT's laws and kind of condensed. They picked what they wanted, right? What do the 10 Commandments say? Or any religious text? You shall not kill. You shall not, thou. So they took what is an internalized and internal system and way of being and externalized it, turned it into laws that are very acute. You shall not, you. There's nothing affirmative about this. There's nothing, it's punitive. There's a difference. That's why the justice system across the world today misses the mark. They're missing the mark every time. Because what they are is they are punitive institutions, not places of reform. If they were places of reform, everything they do would be worded differently, because everybody embodies MAAT. And all people would need is to remember that. So there was a lot of self-accountability that was going on in these communities. You didn't need people policing you. You were the great I. You didn't need to listen to external forces telling you which way to go, what. You knew intrinsically what was right, what was wrong. And you honored that. And when you didn't honor that, there were consequences associated with that. And so that's the next thing I want us to talk about. Accountability, consequences, and so on. So when I talk about holding yourself accountable, this is what I'm talking about. Right? Become responsible enough to hold yourself accountable and allow unembeza and your conscience to speak to you and your conscience to reprimand you. Most of us know when we're about to do something wrong. But because we feel like, you see, we've become so accustomed to other people and that external law, we are okay doing wrong things as long as nobody watches and as long as nobody sees us, right? What happened to the internal law that governs you, that governs your spirit? That thing which says, even when you're by yourself, see, you know what character is? Character is the person who you are when you think nobody's watching. That's character. Exercising integrity is the ability to sit and ask yourself when nobody is watching and nobody sees you, or you think nobody's watching, because there's always somebody watching. You are watching. You are watching yourself. Ultimately, that's what matters. To be able to look at yourself and say, no, man, I'm wrong. And so if we are to go back to who we really are, I'm not going to say were, because we are. We just don't remember. We're going to need to really activate MAAT. We are going to have to become really deeply, like you need to meditate on some of these. They're beautiful as I statements. I spread joy. I hold purity in high esteem. I am trustful in my relationships. You see, now, if you're not trustful or trustworthy in your relationships, you can't say that. It'll choke you. You'll feel it, like your body will, it doesn't feel right. And so that's how you would know which areas in your life you need to focus and hold yourself accountable. Any of these things that you couldn't say, I am accepting. Are you? I act respectfully of others. Do you? If you don't, you won't be able to say it to yourself. And you need to say, please say these things out loud, because then it'll catch you. You won't be able to say it. But it'll give you an idea of the things that you need to work on. Right? So self-accountability is very important. And here I'm going to speak to men and women. What are you doing that you believe you're doing behind closed doors? Right? How many people are getting into situations? How many people are doing things that they think they're getting away with just because nobody is watching? Like I said, you're not really getting away with anything, because at some point you're going to be you're going to be held accountable for these things. Why not hold yourself to account and just do the right thing? Right? The big issue here is cheating. Right? Cheating. Yeah. Cheating. Last time I said, look, define cheating. It differs. Cheating is when you do something outside of an agreement that you have with someone. Meaning that based on your agreement, you have certain ways in which you're going to handle yourselves in your relationship. Some people have what they call open relationships. Whatever your configuration of a relationship, if you breach those rules that you agreed upon, you're cheating, right? So the question then becomes, is it cheating because is it cheating because you got caught? And is your conscience pricking you because you got caught, or is your conscience pricking you because you know you did something wrong? There's a big difference. There are a lot of people who literally have no remorse for anything if they can get away with it. Their remorse, I'm sorry, only shows up after they've been caught. That's disingenuous. Suddenly you're remorseful, but all along, you carried on. So it's very important to scan yourself. Honestly, and nobody can do this for you. No one can force you to do it. The question just becomes, who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in this world? Are you wanting to be a part of this huge change that needs to happen for us as Bagwantu? Or are you just going to be one of those who's like, whatever? Choice is yours. But you have to make the decision for yourself in terms of your morality, right and wrong. Remember, MAAT, you embody MAAT. MAAT will school you. You will be able within yourself to know whether you're doing something wrong or right. And here's the thing. When your conscience pricks you, the worst thing you can do for yourself is to go against that. The worst thing you can do for yourself is to go against that. Why do I say that? Because your level of self-loathing will increase. You'll feel terrible about yourself. And not only that, you have disappointed yourself at the highest level because you knew better. You knew. You did it anyway. This is some hard stuff, right, guys? Please share this out. Share it out to your pages, your friends, whoever needs this, because that's the thing. So, within relationships, holding yourself accountable. Most often when there's conflict in a relationship, everybody rushes to their own side and says, I am fine, And then we point fingers. You did this, you said, you have not been loving, you have been this, you. Right, but you're pointing one finger out and three are pointing back at you. Meaning to say, in any interaction, good or bad, it's an interaction. Now, don't come up here. I know some people are going to be saying, so if somebody beats you, you're going to turn around and say, I had a part to play in that. No. Beating is an action, but what happens before all that, right? Beating is an action, is a choice somebody makes in the moment to do something like that. You can't excuse that. That's a choice somebody has made. They could have made a different choice. But my point is, to get to that point, what has been happening that led to that point where somebody had to make such a decision to beat or not to beat? There's a lot, right? So this is where this goes to. If a relationship is in trouble, if there is tension in the relationship, if a relationship is on its last legs, there are two people who are responsible there somehow. Now, this is hard, but it's the truth. Are you going to play victim, or are you going to hold yourself accountable for your part in this breakdown? Maybe a small part, maybe a big part, but there is a part. What is that? What part is that? This process, guys, is necessary whether your relationship survives its troubles or not. Understand? I'm not saying you're doing all this exercise so that you can stay together. In some cases, the relationship is irretrievable and it's actually in the best interest of both parties to part ways. However, this process here of taking accountability is important, whether you stay or you go. Why? Because you need to heal and deal with this baggage before you take it on into the next relationship, if there is a next relationship. Anything you don't deal with now, you're going to have to deal with later. Because if you don't hold yourself accountable, you will leave that space with a lot of anger, hurt, and bitterness and blame. And I pity your next partner because every day you will be talking about what your ex did. And then, he did this, yeah. And then, she did this. And the poor new person is like, I just want to enjoy my new relationship with you. Can we leave your ex in the past? You will not be able to leave your ex in the past if you don't do this work. So now you're burdening your new relationship with baggage from your old. So, choice is yours. You do the work then, or you do the work later. But holding yourself accountable is very important. These are these internal laws of MAAT, because you restore balance to yourself. At the end of some horrible relationship, you're totally out of whack. You're out of balance on all levels. Could be physically, financially, economically, mentally, psychologically. You're out of balance. How do you then start to restore balance to yourself? Because restoring balance to yourself is healing, right? It starts with that introspection. Get a pen and notepad and start your healing journey. Write out the things. Most times when people do this process, you start with the blaming. Good. Blame, blame, blame. Write the 10 pages of all the things she did wrong. You will come to an end. And then the question will be, and you? What did you do or not do? That's when it starts to get hard, the writing. But if you go through with it, you'll come out on the other side a much better person. But it's important, especially for people who have children together. So say, for example, it's a marriage falling apart and there are children involved. You're going to have to co-parent. In other words, you and your ex are linked by these children forever. That's the truth. So you have to make a choice whether moving forward, your interactions will be toxic because you haven't healed, or whether your interactions will be civil enough so that you can do the responsible thing, which is to continue raising your children, or at least, to continue to be a solid, stable base for your children. Now, remember what I've said about children. They don't ask to be born, at least not in the sense that we know. They do, but that's a story for another day. However, my point is that they are here now and you're the steward, you're the parent. So are you going, if not for yourself, for your own children, are you going to do the right thing? Because there are a lot of children who are stuck between parents who are so toxic, and it's sad to watch. And then the kids are getting used to beat the other parent, and it's tragic. It doesn't have to be that way. We acknowledge that relationships can start and come to an end. It's not everybody who has a happily ever after. Most cases don't. And if they do, they probably shouldn't, because it's very unhealthy. Someone has already died in that relationship. So relationships come to an end. So this myth that Christianity brought you, that, till death do us part. Guys, it's heavy. So you choose to do this work because you want to take responsibility, not just for yourself, but for those that you've brought into this world. This is where that responsibility comes in. You're responsible. And you will be held accountable to what happens to these souls that chose you to come into this world. Right? There's always going to be accountability. And when we work with MAAT, when we talk about MAAT as MAAT, we will go into more detail about who she is, how she operates. But I wanted to just ground this conversation in MAAT because the accountability we're talking about is really self-accountability. These external ways of holding you accountable are very artificial, and for the most part, they're not effective. That's why jails don't work. If jails worked, would we have repeat offenders? Right? The jail is supposed to hold you accountable. You're supposed to go to jail, come out and say, "Phew, I'll never do that again." How many repeat offenders do we have? No matter how bad the jail is, we still have repeat offenders. Why? Because this is not active. MAAT is not activated. MAAT is not what's going on in this person. And these external ways, punishing, punitive actions we know don't work. Throughout the world, indigenous systems, if you go to Australia, Aborigines, they are put on these reserves and they have their own way of dealing and doing justice. Native Americans here, they have their own way of doing justice. There are no prisons. So within their reservations and their communities, they are doing justice based on their history and what their ancestors did, which is a totally different way of dealing with issues and criminality and wrongdoing. It's very reformative. They don't throw people away, lock up in a dungeon and toss the key out. They don't. So there's something to be said about that. And when we talk about MAAT and the law, maybe we'll look at that a little further. Like what did justice look like back then? But for the purposes of this live, I really just wanted to say to you guys, hold yourselves accountable. That way you can leave a relationship, if it's being left, you can leave a relationship with grace. Doesn't always have to be drama, guys. Drama. You leave your relationship with grace and you can still greet the other person, because God forbid, if you have children, you're going to meet at your children's weddings. You will meet. So every time you meet this person, are you going to feel the bile coming up because you're so bitter? No. It doesn't have to be that way. You can meet this person, you guys can be civil, and you can be there for your children and your grandchildren and so on and so forth. It's important. So there's an issue that came up with the little video I posted. Remember the video I posted with the guy talking about women and how women will check out of a relationship? A woman will be gone out of the relationship 5 years before she actually physically leaves. It's the truth. It's the truth. And I mean, he spoke very honestly. There were some guys who got very defensive when they were listening to that. And I actually said to them, you can learn something here, because this very attitude that you have, that's exactly why you find yourselves in the position that you are, because you don't listen. I was like, listen, just be quiet and listen to what this guy's saying. You'll learn something here. Why do people check out? People check out because they're not being heard. Everybody wants to be heard. And for women, we're told that we talk too much, we're always shouting, drama. While there's still drama, be thankful, because that means she's still involved. She's still in the relationship. The day it goes quiet, it's done. The day goes quiet, it's done. If she's still crying over your stuff, your crap, she's in the relationship. The day she stops crying, she's out. You've got a physical body there, but the person's gone. Right? If she's still checking your phone and waiting up for you to come in at 3 a.m. to start a fight with you, she's still in the relationship. She's fighting for her relationship. But the day you come home and she's lying there and she turns and she says, hey, and goes back to sleep. Then you know that it's over. As long as she's still chasing you and trying to sneak into your cell phone to find out who you're talking to, she's still in the relationship. But the day your phone rings and she sees the name Jonathan, and she already knows that Jonathan is code name for beauty, and she looks at it and goes, and keeps reading, the relationship is finished. It's over. So that is the reason. You can only fight for something and someone for so long, right? You can only ask things from someone for so long. And then it gets to a point where you check out. Babies do the same in hospitals, by the way. It's a normal human reaction. You know, they did an experiment where they put babies in cots, and the babies that got more care were more responsive. So the minute they got wet, they would scream because they wanted to get changed. The minute they felt hunger, they would cry. Then there were some babies who, they checked out. They would cry and cry and cry and no response. And then so in the end, they didn't. So you had no idea whether this baby had been fed or not fed, whether this baby was wet, needing a change, because they stopped responding. It's a normal human thing. Maybe animals do it, I don't know. So after screaming and screaming and screaming and shouting for help and doing all sorts of gymnastics and trying, hey, see me, hear me, you know, you bribe, you cajole, you go jungle, you burn clothes on the front lawn, yeah, you throw furniture out the window. Still nothing, no change. You dissipate, your energy goes, you stop and you check out. So the guys who were protesting this were like, well, why not just tell the guy that you are no longer interested in leaving? I'm like, dude, shut that up. Because this guy is trying to teach you how women respond. You cannot tell us how we should respond, because it's not as if we think, okay, I'm about to check out now. Hello, I'm checking out now. No, duh. It's a process that happens until you get to an end. So it's not preconceived. You know, he was making it seem like women are conniving. They preconceive these things like, okay, you know what? Now I'm going to be quiet. If she's still saying now I'm going to be quiet, she's still checked in the relationship. She's still in it. Because she's self-instructing. But when she's really done in checking out, there's no self-instruction, it just happens. So there's nothing to tell anybody because it happens. She may not even be aware of what's happened. She may just be shocked or surprised that the things that used to hurt her, the things that used to make her cry, suddenly don't make her cry anymore. The things she used to care about, she doesn't seem to care about anymore. So much as it's a surprise to you guys that happens, it's also a surprise to us, where you're like, she might not even be aware the first few times it happens, and then one day it hits her that, actually, you know what? I'm okay. I don't care anymore. So for the men who are trying to be defensive, there's no need to be defensive. We're not fighting here. We're simply trying to work together to see whether we can really make this black love thing work. Black love. Ooh, can we really make it work? And if so, how so? Right? I left my relationship 3 years ago. Now it's just a matter of fixing my properties and then phew, I'm gone there. So she checked out 3 years ago. I know people who checked out 10 years ago. Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It is, yes, it is an out-of-body experience, Pindiwe. It's not something you're conscious of or control. It just happens. It's like your soul exits. Your soul, your spirit just, it exits, man. Because I guess your soul spirit is just tired of expecting and expecting and expecting and getting nothing back. So she leaves. Right? So, I don't know. I'm yet to find a video that talks about what happens when a man is done. If I find one, I will post it so that we have both. What happens when a woman is done and what happens when a guy is done. I haven't found one yet. I guess maybe we have different parameters of operating, depending on levels of commitment. I've often heard it said that, you know, men can have a wife at home that they love dearly, absolutely, and still do other things outside. I don't know that there are many women who are capable of that. I don't know. Are there? You guys can school me. I'm not an expert on all women. But yeah, I hope this has brought some value to you guys. At least some things to think about. So here's some homework. Get yourself a copy of MAAT's laws. And please get the ones that are written in the affirmative, I am. Because it's really about you, all this accountability, you know. There's no external enforcer of this law. You are God unto yourself. Your God is unto yourself. As the universe is held in balance by MAAT, so are you. You embody MAAT. These are within you. Just activate them by reciting. Recite them out loud. Keep them close to you where you can meditate on them. And sometimes at night, you know, before you go to bed, go over them and see where it is that you failed. Imagine there are 42. Imagine out of 42, you get 2 out of 42. It can happen. But it's a place to start. Then you know where to start. Just don't lose hope. Don't say, no, man. 2 out of 42. I'm hopeless. There's no such thing. We're all growing, we're all learning, and we're all adjusting. Yeah? So I think I'll leave it there for that. And something else very important. So guys, I'm going to, as you know, I am going to be in South Africa as from December the 3rd. So I'm getting ready for that now. And I wanted to tell you guys, I will be bringing this book. And I know that it looks upside down. I'm going to put the picture up. It's called The Sacred Magic of Ancient Egypt. Why am I showing you this book? Because it is an essential resource for anyone who would like to deepen their understanding of this that we're talking about. The Zulu Phahla prayer book, Impahlo, are out of this text. They are translated out of this text. Therefore, for those non-Zulu speakers, this is a great resource to have because it also explains the philosophy of Kemet, how these prayers came about, what was going on in these temples. By prayers, I mean umpahlo. I don't want you guys to start mixing it up with this religious stuff. Umpahlo. This is a really great resource. So look, I'm going to pre-sell. If you're interested, how much did Nkulu say? 750. It's an amazing thing to have. I'm bringing 10. I might bring another 10, depending. But there are 10 right now. So if you want to pre-order so that as soon as I get there, you get your copy, please, 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 please make sure you message, this is the number on the Indlovukazi flyer. Message that number and say pre-order for the book. That way, I mean, you get it. Because like I said, they're limited number that I have. But it's really an important resource to have because you'll find that, for example, even as I talk about MAAT, you're like thinking, okay, so MAAT, another one of these principles. But this would be a great resource because it will tell you much more about this energy or principle and the place that she holds within the entire universe or cosmos. So that said, Indlovukazi workshop still open for those who are interested. Guys, please come on. If you're interested in coming, please contact that number, do your payment. I need numbers because I need to know how many t-shirts we're going to do. Because if I don't, then you will pay at the last minute and then you won't have your t-shirt and then you will not be happy. So please, 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 again, for the purposes of planning, can we get that done as soon as possible? The flyers are all out there. My 2 wonderful assistants are there to assist you, so they will follow up with you guys with anything. Also, Izibu, the Lotus Ceremony, that is going to be in Polokwane, 22nd. December is Umlindelo, 23rd at 12. We are at Tropic of Capricorn to meet the sun when it's as close as it possibly can be to the earth. Yeah. So again, flyers are out there. That's why I'm not going on too much about it. I don't want to bore you and waste your time. It's all there on the flyers. I've done several lives on that. So you guys go ahead, pay up, register, get your information in so we can get going. Last minute is always hectic. There's a lot of last minute is crazy. It's very stressful because it messes up with planning. So we're just asking that you help us by trying to get paid up as soon as possible so we know what we're arranging. We need to know how many buses we're going to need from Esgodlweni, even from eThekwini. We still need to know how many buses we're going to have. We can't know those things until people are registered and have paid, right? And sometimes, remember, this is festive season as well. So if you don't get your numbers in order and done, it's a rough time of year to do last minute things. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Lindiwe, yes, Lindiwe, I can't wait to meet you too. Give you a big hug. I can't wait to meet anyone who's coming. Like, if you miss this, you miss this. Because I'm not going to be consulting. I'm not going to be doing rituals either. So even though I'm going to be in the country for a while, I'm not going to be doing any of that. So really opportunities to meet. This was one big one. As Indovukazi meeting, to heal together, to laugh, to share jokes, to giggle, like just to be in each other's presence, So yeah. On that note, I think I will leave you and love you guys. Hopefully next week I can come live. I'm not promising, but I'm hoping that I can come live with something. But yeah, I'm hectic busy right now, just trying to get everything together and packed. Ne? But thank you guys for joining me. Togozani. I love you guys so much, yeah? And see you soon.